Grimsby 2, Manchester United 2, and eventually we lose 12-11 on penalties to Grimsby Town Football Club. Heck of a shootout. Not exactly a great performance from Manchester United. And of course, always in these videos, what we want to do is sit here and get straight into talking about tactics and talking about what went right and what went wrong. But first of all, we need to take a moment just to sit and try and comprehend and try and fathom and understand actually what happened last night. I think so many people are going to be pointing fingers at Ruben Amorim. We all saw the interview after the game. He looks defeated. He looks as though he feels he's been let down by his players, which I think he was last night. I don't think Manchester United were good enough. I think individually there were some incredibly poor performances, which happens sometimes. Andre Onana in goal for a start. An error on both goals. Come on, Andre. Patrick Dorgu. Really poor performance. Really poor. And also Ahmad just didn't play well at all. Dallow's another one who had a bad night. A really bad night of football. So, of course, a lot of people are going to sit here and point fingers at the players. Absolutely, you should. These Manchester United players let themselves down. They also let the manager down. But also, I can't help but feel that this match was a summary of Ruben Amorim's legacy, his current legacy at Manchester United. He's been at the football club 9 months now. Might be more than that. He's been here a long time. And his stamp on the team is very much there. This isn't a manager who came in 3 games ago. People keep talking about it's been 3 games. And I understand giving him that little bit of leeway because last season was a bit weird how he came halfway through. But he's been here 10 months now. His identity is stamped on the football team. And we couldn't get close to Grimsby. Look at the momentum graph from the first half of football. Grimsby outplayed Manchester United for 40 minutes. You know, this wasn't a typical cup game where the big team rocks up to an away ground, dominates the ball, but can't break the opposition down because the pitch is a bit bobbly and the underdogs transition constantly and score a couple of goals from set pieces and smash and grab to win it. Grimsby outplayed Manchester United. Outplayed Manchester United. And this is why I am so confused and conflicted in my head. Because in my opinion, you should be able to put any 11 Manchester United players out there. You should be able to put them on that football pitch in any system and they should just beat Grimsby. You know, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Grimsby, but come on. You should be able to do that. These 11 should be able to beat Grimsby no matter what the manager is telling them. But also, at the same time, like I said, this is Amorim's print on the team now. He's been here 10 months. Thomas Frank has put his sort of stamp on Spurs in 2 months. You know, managers quickly get their ideas across to the players. And the idea to the Manchester United players is lacking. It's a lack of ideas. It really felt last night that there's almost no personality to the way that Manchester United play. And I don't think that's a player-based thing. Because I think we've got some players with great personality. I think Kobe is a really expressive player. Cunha, of course. Ahmad. We have expressive players. It looked like last night that we had a bunch of robots turned up to a football match and we expected to dominate the ball, have 70% possession and try and break Grimsby down. These lot looked shell-shocked for the first 30 minutes. It was a very weird vibe, a weird energy. Now, I'm not one to sit here and say that players are throwing a manager under the bus. I just don't like saying it. I think it's a big claim. It's a big accusation, you know, claiming these professional athletes aren't trying or they're trying to get their managers sacked. You may believe it. That's up to you. I'm personally not going to make the claim. But there was something off about United last night. The vibe was weird with the players. Like I said, it was almost like they felt the match was below them a little bit, that they rocked up just expecting to win, that it was going to be very easy. And then when Grimsby come at 100 miles an hour, like all English Cup teams do, United weren't ready for that. And like I said, we know that Amorim is a manager who is often labelled as a playbook manager. And what that means is he's a manager that, rather than giving players problem-solving license, what he often does is kind of puts in fixed patterns of play that you expect to see. So, for example, one of those is on goal kicks. We see that little bounce pass, well, that pass into midfield, then you spin it out wide with the bounce pass. That's a pattern of play that we know that Amorim likes to see. And truthfully, if we can't do that in the first phase, he doesn't like us playing out. So that is pattern-based. If we can't do that, he likes us to go long. We know another pattern that we often get is and this is quite a nice one, when we get the ball to the wing back in a wide position, then what we do is we get our midfielder to get a bit of separation in here. So when we roll it inside, sort of in that up, back, and then we through ball it into a channel, that's a pattern that Ruben Amorim uses. It's good. It's effective. I like watching that pattern. The problem is when you've got a manager like that, you do take some of the freedom away from the players, and you take some of the expression away from the players, and you take away almost the uniqueness of your squad. Every football team is different. You could set them up tactically all the same, but every football team would be different because they got different players on the pitch. And that's a good thing for United. We've got some really interesting individuals in terms of what they can bring to a football team. But I think last night actually summed up how, and this is going to sound harsh, it's almost like Amorim has taken away so much of the license to express for these players. So when the patterns don't work, they didn't last night. You know, Grimsby set up well. I'm not going to massively sit and talk about tactics today because it doesn't feel like the biggest point. But Grimsby tactically was set up very well. They knew when they wanted to press, and basically what they were doing was stopping United from doing that pattern. Outside of that, in the first 40 minutes, if we couldn't go to that pattern to work a ball into the channel, we didn't have anything. Go back to the momentum graph. We did not have anything. We didn't have a way of playing out in the first phase. If we couldn't go into the centre-backs and then bounce it out wide, we couldn't play. We resorted to long ball football against Grimsby. There's a problem there. Now, obviously, a lot of that is sort of a tactical thing, and Amorim's the style of manager that he is. Some people prefer that sort of manager, someone who likes to see patterns of play, and I think it's something that actually we've all asked for at Old Trafford for a long time. But it almost feels like we've gone too far that way. Footballers should be able to express themselves. It's what gives you those moments of magic. It's what makes football so fun. I think that's why a lot of us like Cobby, but perhaps why Amorim isn't his biggest fan in terms of getting him into the 11, because Cobby is a player who plays off the cuff a little bit more. He changes the tempo in a different way to what Amorim wants. I think the other problem I've got with last night, and this is an Amorim thing. Sorry, Ruben. I actually like the guy. I think personality-wise, I think he's a great person. I really do. I like Amorim, and I still think he's got a high ceiling as a manager if he learns to adapt. But in terms of not learning to adapt, for me, I've got a problem with the psychological message that you sent. Manchester United, granted we've fallen off in the past 15 years, but Manchester United should rock up to Grimsby and have an arrogance, and I mean it's in a positive way, an arrogance, a swagger, that we are here to come and destroy you. That if we want to, at any moment, we can turn it on and we're going to hurt you because we've got so many good players. We've got so many great, fast attacking players on the pitch. We're going to pick a more attacking 11 than normal, right? We're really going to get after you because we just think we're better than you. And psychologically, there's a problem for me when we line up with 5 defenders and a holding midfielder. Now, that's not a criticism of the 3-4-3. I still don't think the 3-4-3 is the biggest problem at United. A lot of the problem is actually the principles and the intentions and starting positions and things like that. 3-4-3 isn't the biggest problem. But I don't like that. We don't need to rock up to Grimsby with 5 defenders. I mean, ultimately we did, right? Because apparently we couldn't defend against them. But you know what I mean? We should be looking to go into this game and playing on the front foot. Some of that squad building. This is not all Ruben Amorim. On the left side, we don't have an attacking option. It's Dorgu, it's Shaw, it's Diego Leon. There isn't another one. So that's not an Amorim thing. He doesn't recruit the players. That's the recruitment team. That's a squad building issue. On the right-hand side, we do have options. Could we go for Ahmad there? Possibly, although we have concerns over the balance if we then push and boom him into the right 10. But could we have perhaps gone Ahmad here, and then could we have got Bruno Fernandes in this position, for example, to be more attacking? So rather than having Dalot, we've got Bruno Fernandes. You don't need me to tell you that's more attacking. And for me, it's sort of that mentality which almost captured this game quite nicely. There was almost a fear about the United performance. Again, going to Grimsby and playing with 5 defenders, that's almost a little bit of fear from Amorim. It felt all night like these players had the exact same fear that we had in a live stream yesterday. Now, throughout the stream, I was going, we can't lose. Like, it's not possible for us to lose to Grimsby. We can't. We can't even begin to comprehend the idea of that. But we all kept saying, what if? But what if we do? What if we do lose to Grimsby? Then what? Then what happens after that? It felt like everything to do with Manchester United Football Club going into that game had that same feeling. It felt like the players from minute 1 had that, what if we lose? Amorim sitting there on the touchline, hitting penalty shootout, a bit weird. The way that he's not even on the side of the pitch. Are people looking into that too much? I don't know. But again, United felt almost scared the whole night. You know, people will say that Amorim was hiding in the shootout, and it sort of just all rolls in together quite nicely. United felt scared all night of what the result could be. Obviously, second half we were much better. We went more attacking. We were more aggressive. We took Ugarte off for Bruno, which of course is an attacking change. I think we also took Dorgu off for Mbumo, which is an attacking change. Second half, some of that fear was removed. It was a more expressive team. I'm not saying we had to start with this 11, but you can quite clearly see it's a team that is going to attack Grimsby. In my opinion, and that's how we should approach it from the start. That should be United's intent, to assert ourselves, to be dominant. But it was the opposite. Again, we saw a game where United were passive, we're off the ball, we're easy to play against. Grimsby are not exactly prime Barcelona tick-attacker playing out from the back. But in this game, they found it very easy to move forward. As usual, there was the space outside. We were pinned into a back five at times. And it just feels unacceptable, really. Now, I am very aware of the fact that today's video hasn't been the most analytical. We haven't exactly looked massively at, system and things that we saw on the football pitch. We haven't gone to loads of screenshots. For that, I apologise. But at the end of the day, I'm a Manchester United fan. And in these moments where it goes bad, and it was bad, I like to show more the fan side of things. Rather than being a nerd, I like to just give my views on what's going on, more opinion-based. Some people probably want me to sit here and shout and rage and go all red in the face, but I'm not going to do that just because, that's not who I am as a person, so I'm not going to act like that on camera just for views. It seems unnecessary. But I did want to sit here and just kind of openly talk with you guys about just kind of my thoughts on Amorim and the players and what went wrong in this football match. I don't think it is a purely tactical thing. I don't think Manchester United lost last night because we played a 3-4-3. I don't think that was the case. But there was something seriously wrong. And to tell the truth, it felt like the end. The way that Amorim was speaking after the game, I'm not a man to call for a manager's head. Even Ten Hag, it got bad. But I never sat here, I don't think, and said I definitely want him out. Part of that was because I didn't know who I wanted to replace him, which feels more true than ever now. But something was wrong last night, and it really did feel like the point of no return for Amorim, which is terrifying because we're in the third match of the season. The only good thing, the only positive spin that we can put on it, in terms of, let's say Amorim was to be sacked, should that happen, at least we've got a full season. It's not a manager coming in February and you get an interim till the end of the season. I've seen people mentioning that. Could we get an interim? You can't get an interim for 10 months. It's not an interim at that point. They're basically the full-time manager. They'd have been here longer than Amorim if they're here for that stint. Was Amorim an interim? I don't know anymore. Maybe he was. That's the only positive here. If something was to happen with a managerial change, which feels very possible right now, feels very possible, particularly perhaps after Burnley, international break, I could see something happening there. I don't know. I'm running out of words to describe it. And, I am an Amorim fan. Like I said, I think he will be a very good manager someday. He's still very young, very early in his career. For it to work at Manchester United, something has to change. And I don't mean abandoning the 3-4-3 formation. It doesn't have to be that, but it can be that. The ideas need to change. We need to be a team that's aggressive and plays on the front foot. We're far too passive. We almost go into a lot of games, not all of them. We see one-offs here and there. But it feels like we go into every game and go, can you beat us? Rather than going, we're going to beat you. And it's just a small shift in the mindset. For me, Manchester United should be a team always on the front foot, asking questions, trying to beat people. At the moment, every game, like I said, it feels like, can you beat us? And that's just not a question we should go and ask Grimsby Town. It's not. It's not. That would never be acceptable at this football club. And it isn't today. It won't be tomorrow. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to say from this game. Like I said, you can probably tell that this video is slightly less planned, a bit more off the top of the head, just because that's how I want to talk about United today, just because I don't want to sit and spend hours and hours and hours breaking down a performance which isn't even worthy of being broken down. Players let themselves down. Amorim, bad image from that game. But there's still plenty of time left this season. If Amorim wants to tweak, there is time to tweak. We've got an international break coming up where he will have players that he can work with. If you're going to change something, Ruben, if you want to save your Manchester United job, now is the time to do it. Find that tweak. Is it a tactical change of shape? Is it a tactical change of plan? You know, it might be playing quicker or playing slower. It doesn't always have to be formation. There are different ways that you can affect things. Ruben Amorim, if you want your job, you have to. Because right now, one way or another, whoever is to blame, it's not working. So if you want to keep your job, change. Players, buck your ideas up, because last night was not good enough. The mindset was absolutely terrible. But if change does happen, we do have good footballers at this football club, and we can, even though it doesn't feel like it, we can still go on to have a good season. Truly, truly believe that, because I think we've got a good squad. Also, Ineos, if you want to go quickly buy a good player, that'd be nice. You know, before the window ends, that'd be quite cool. I'm going to stop waffling now. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Again, slightly different to normal. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.